The Grand Council chamber floated in the darkness of space, far from any star system. It was a massive structure made of crystal and metal, built by the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. Today, representatives from 12 different alien species gathered here for their most important meeting. They only met like this once every 1,000 years. Inside the Great Hall, beings of all shapes and sizes took their seats. Some walked on legs, others floated in special tanks filled with glowing liquid. A few were so large they appeared only as holographic projections. All of them had one thing in common. They ruled vast empires spanning hundreds of worlds. Elder Kethmar moved slowly to his seat. He was old, even by the standards of his long-lived species. His skin had faded from deep purple to pale gray. His forearms trembled slightly as he walked. Once the Vorasheen people had numbered in the trillions. Now barely 3 million remained. Kethmar was one of the last who remembered why. The council leader, a being made entirely of crystallized thought, called the meeting to order. Its voice echoed in everyone's mind rather than their ears. "We gathered to discuss expansion," it announced. "The Orion Arm remains largely unclaimed. Rich worlds wait there. We must decide who will control this territory." Supreme Commander Zalnoth stood up quickly. He was a Crevassian, a species that looked like enormous insects covered in purple armor. His empire had never lost a war in 3,000 years. He was proud of this fact and mentioned it often. "The Crevassian Empire claims the Orion Arm," Zalnoth declared. His voice was harsh and clicking. "We have the military strength to hold it. We have the right to expand." Several other council members nodded. The Crevassians were powerful. Everyone knew this. It made sense to let them have what they wanted. But Elder Kethmar rose slowly to his feet. The movement was painful. Everyone could see it. The chamber grew quiet. The Vorasheen had once been powerful too. Seeing Kethmar now made others uncomfortable. It reminded them that even great empires could fall. "I must speak against this plan," Kethmar said. His voice was soft but clear. "The Orion Arm is not empty. A species lives there. They call themselves humans. I warn you all. Do not attack them. Do not threaten them. Leave them alone." Zalnoth made a sound like metal scraping on metal. It was Crevassian laughter. "The humans," he said, "those pale little primates. They barely have working faster than light travel. Their ships are slow. Their weapons are primitive. They fight among themselves constantly. What threat could they possibly pose?" Other council members murmured in agreement. Several had heard of humans. They seemed unimpressive. Just another young species taking its first steps into the galaxy. Kethmar's expression grew sad. "I said the same thing 200 years ago," he told them. "My people encountered the humans during what they call their first contact wars. We saw a small colony world. Just 1 million humans living there. We thought it would be easy to take." He paused and his 4 hands clenched into fists. "We attacked their colony. We destroyed their defense satellites. We sent down troops to occupy the surface. By all military calculations, they should have surrendered within hours. They did not." The chamber was silent now. Everyone listened. "The humans fought us with farming equipment," Kethmar continued. "They used fertilizer to make bombs. They turned their mining machines into weapons. When we destroyed those, they fought with rocks and metal bars. When we captured their fighters, they smiled at us. They smiled. Then they told us something." Kethmar's voice grew quieter. "They said Earth remembers. We did not understand what this meant. Then their main fleet arrived. Not from the colony world, from their home planet, from Earth, from somewhere far away in their solar system. They had sent a distress call before we even attacked. So they defended one colony," Zalnoth interrupted. "Every species does this. It proves nothing. We retreated from the colony," Kethmar said. "We thought the matter was finished. But the humans did not stop. They followed us. They tracked our ships across space. They found our supply bases. They destroyed them. Then they found our colony worlds. Not their worlds. Our worlds." The elder's voice shook now with old fear. "We tried to negotiate. We offered to pay for damages. We offered technology, resources, territory. They refused everything. They said we needed to learn a lesson. They said the lesson was simple. Never attack humans." "But how did your war end?" someone asked. "It ended when human ships appeared in orbit around our homeworld," Kethmar said. "They did not attack our planet. They just stayed there waiting, watching. They sent a message. It said, 'You came to our home. Now we are at yours. Remember this feeling.' Remember that we could destroy you but choose not to. Remember that we can always come back." Then they left. Kethmar looked around the chamber at all the powerful beings gathered there. "My people were broken by this," he said. "Not by military defeat, by the knowledge that somewhere out there, a species existed that would never stop, never forgive, never forget. We withdrew from space exploration. We retreated to our homeworld. We stopped having children because we were too afraid. Our empire fell not because the humans destroyed it, but because we destroyed ourselves with fear." "You expect us to believe," Zalnoth said slowly, "that your mighty empire fell because of fear? That you retreated because some primates scared you? This sounds like the excuse of a weak species trying to justify its failure." Several council members made sounds of agreement. Kethmar sighed. He had expected this. Young species always thought they were different. They always thought they were special. They always thought they would succeed where others had failed. "Let me tell you what makes humans dangerous," Kethmar said. "It is not their technology. It is not their numbers. It is their nature. Humans are persistence predators. On their homeworld, they evolved to chase prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They carry this trait into everything they do." He looked directly at Zalnoth. "When you fight a war, you fight until victory seems unlikely. Then you retreat to save resources. Humans are different. They fight until victory is achieved or until they are all dead. There is no middle option for them. They have a saying in one of their languages, victory or death. They mean both." "We also have warriors who fight to the death," Zalnoth said. "This is not unique. Your warriors fight to the death," Kethmar agreed. "But when your warriors die, your civilization mourns and becomes cautious. When human warriors die, their civilization becomes angry. They do not become afraid. They become more determined. They turn their entire society into a weapon. Every factory, every scientist, every citizen focuses on war. They call this total war. It is terrifying to witness." Kethmar sat down slowly. He looked tired and old. "I have warned you," he said. "That is all I can do. You will not believe me. Young species never do. You will attack the humans because you think you are stronger. You think you are smarter. You think you are special. Then you will learn what I learned. You will learn why my people now number only a few million. You will learn why we fear the dark between stars," the council voted. Only Kethmar voted against expansion into the Orion Arm. The Crovasian Empire received permission to annex human-occupied systems. Zalnoth left the chamber victorious, already planning his campaign. Kethmar remained in his seat long after the others left. He whispered a prayer in his ancient language. It was a prayer for the Crovasians. They would need it soon. In the Orion Arm, on dozens of human worlds, people went about their daily lives. They had no idea that war was coming. But they would be ready. Humans were always ready. That was what made them unstoppable. 6 months after the council meeting, Supreme Commander Zalnoth's war fleet arrived at New Harvest. The human colony world looked peaceful from orbit. Green farmland covered most of the continents. Small cities dotted the landscape. Orbital stations tracked the weather and managed satellite networks. 3 million humans lived here, growing food that fed a dozen other colonies. Zalnoth studied the planet from his flagship's command center. His tactical officers presented their analysis. The colony had minimal military defenses, a few outdated patrol ships, some surface-to-orbit missiles, a small garrison of soldiers, maybe 5,000 at most. By Crovasian standards, this was not even a real military force. "Send the standard ultimatum," Zalnoth ordered. "Give them 12 hours to surrender. Tell them resistance is futile." The message was sent. The Crovasian fleet waited in orbit, their weapons trained on the colony's major cities. Zalnoth expected a quick surrender. Perhaps some negotiation, maybe a plea for mercy. That was how these things usually went. 12 hours passed. The human response came through on all frequencies. It was brief. Just one word. "No." Zalnoth stared at the message. He clicked his mandibles in confusion. "No, that is their response? Just no?" "Yes, Commander," his communications officer confirmed. They transmitted that single word, then went silent. "Send another message," Zalnoth said. "Tell them we will begin destroying their cities. Tell them millions will die. Surely they will reconsider." Another message was sent. Another response came back. Again, just one word, "no." Zalnoth felt the first stirring of doubt. This was not normal behavior. But he had his orders. He had made promises to the council. He could not look weak. "Begin the attack," he commanded. "Target military installations first. Avoid excessive civilian casualties for now." The Cravasian fleet opened fire. Missiles streaked down through the atmosphere. Laser beams burned through the sky. The human defense satellites were destroyed within minutes. The patrol ships were disabled or destroyed. The surface bases were hit hard. Then something strange happened. The humans did not panic. They did not flood the communication channels with pleas for mercy. Instead, they simply disappeared. Cravasian scanners showed the major cities emptying out. Millions of humans were moving underground, into tunnels and bunkers that the scanners had not detected before. Within hours, the surface appeared almost deserted. "They are hiding," Zalnoth's tactical officer reported. "They have extensive underground facilities. They must have been building them for years." "Then we send ground troops," Zalnoth decided. "We will dig them out. Deploy 20,000 soldiers. Occupy the major cities. Cut off their supplies. They will surrender when they get hungry." The Cravasian ground forces landed in transport ships. They spread out across the planet, taking up positions in the empty cities. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. Then the attacks began. The first patrol disappeared while investigating a farming complex. One moment they were there. The next moment, nothing. Just silence on the communications net. Search teams found the patrol vehicles destroyed, but no bodies. Just a message painted on a wall in human writing. "Welcome to New Harvest. We hope you enjoy your stay." More patrols disappeared. More equipment was destroyed. The humans were using the underground tunnels to move around unseen. They would pop up, attack, then vanish again before reinforcements arrived. They used the farming equipment as weapons. Giant harvesting machines, normally used to cut crops, tore through Cravasian armor. Irrigation systems flooded areas where troops gathered. Underground fertilizer storage facilities exploded like bombs. What disturbed Zalnoth most was the human communication chatter his intelligence officers intercepted. The colonists were not afraid. They were laughing. They were making jokes. They had given his flagship a nickname. They called it Big Purple Regret. They were running betting pools on how long until reinforcements arrived from Earth. One intercepted message made Zalnoth's blood run cold. A human soldier said simply, "Earth remembers." "Sol is coming. What does that mean?" Zalnoth demanded. "Sol is coming?" "Sol is the name of their star system," an intelligence officer explained. "It is where Earth is located. We believe they are saying that the human home fleet is coming to help them." "How long would that take?" Zalnoth asked. "At least 3 weeks, given human faster than light speeds," the officer replied. Zalnoth relaxed slightly. 3 weeks was plenty of time. He could capture the planet and secure it before any reinforcements arrived. He sent more troops down to the surface. He increased patrols. He ordered his soldiers to be more aggressive. The casualties mounted. Cravasian soldiers were dying in ones and twos, killed by traps and ambushes. They found explosives hidden in abandoned buildings. They found tunnels that collapsed when troops entered them. They found weapons caches that exploded when approached. The humans were turning their entire planet into a trap. 2 weeks passed. Zalnoth's ground forces had lost 30% of their strength. He still did not control the planet. The humans still refused to surrender. And then the scanners detected something at the edge of the system. Ships. Lots of ships. The human Sol defense fleet had arrived. Zalnoth immediately ordered his ground troops back to orbit. He needed to prepare for a space battle. But the evacuation took time, and during that time the humans on the surface attacked with renewed fury. They seemed to know help was coming. They fought harder, took bigger risks, and their war cries filled the communication channels. The Sol defense fleet entered the system and took up positions near New Harvest. Zalnoth counted the human ships. They were outnumbered. The human fleet was smaller than his own. He felt confident again. Size and numbers would win this battle. But the humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. When human ships ran out of missiles, they closed to point-blank range and used their smaller guns. When those ran out, they rammed Cravasian vessels. Damaged human ships did not retreat. Instead, they aimed for the engines of enemy ships, sacrificing themselves to cripple larger vessels. The battle was chaos. The humans used tactics that made no sense. They took risks that no sane commander would take. They protected the colony at all costs, even when it meant losing ships, and they never ever stopped coming. Zalnoth found himself forced into a tactical retreat. His fleet pulled back to a safer distance, trying to regroup. He had lost more ships than he expected. His ground forces had suffered heavy casualties, and the colony was still not captured. Then worse news arrived. His intelligence officers reported that human ships had attacked his supply convoy 3 systems away. The convoy was destroyed. The humans had somehow known exactly where it would be and when it would be there. Another report came in. Humans had captured a damaged Crovasian frigate. They were already studying it, trying to figure out how it worked. The report mentioned that the humans were making progress remarkably fast. Then came the most disturbing message of all. It was broadcast on all channels aimed directly at the Crovasian homeworld. It contained coordinates, flight paths, and navigational data. And it contained a simple message. We know where you live. We know how to get there. And we're not afraid to visit. Your move. Zalnoth stared at the message in disbelief. The humans were threatening his homeworld. They were a young species with primitive ships and limited resources, and they were threatening the heart of the Crovasian Empire. It should have been laughable, but after 2 weeks of fighting these creatures, Zalnoth did not laugh. He called for more reinforcements. He requested additional fleet elements from nearby sectors. He began planning a new offensive. But in the back of his mind, he remembered Elder Kethmar's warning. Humans fight until victory is achieved or until they are all dead. On the surface of New Harvest, the colonists emerged from their bunkers to cheer as the human fleet maintained orbit. They had held their ground. They had survived. And they had sent a message to the entire galaxy. Humans do not surrender. In deep space, on ships traveling through faster than light, more human fleets were already mobilizing. News of the attack on New Harvest had reached Earth. The politicians were meeting. The military was preparing, and the people were angry. The Crovasians had poked the bear. Now they would learn what that meant. Far away on his homeworld, Elder Kethmar heard the news. He was not surprised. He had tried to warn them. No one ever listened until it was too late. He whispered another prayer, this time for his own people. When humans became angry with the Crovasians, they might remember who else had attacked human colonies 2 centuries ago. He hoped humans could forgive. He feared they could not forget. The war that humans called the 6 Months' War began to spread across space. What started as one battle at New Harvest turned into dozens of battles across multiple star systems. The Galactic Council watched with growing alarm. Their military predictions were completely wrong. The Crovasian Empire was not crushing the humans. Instead, they were fighting desperately just to hold their ground. Council analysts began studying human warfare seriously for the first time. They requested all available data on human history, culture, and military doctrine. What they found disturbed them deeply. The head analyst, a crystalline being named Thorm, presented findings to the council. Thorm's report began with a simple statement that shocked everyone. Humans have never stopped fighting, Thorm said. From the moment they evolved into intelligent beings until today, they have been at war. Sometimes they fight each other. Sometimes they fight their environment. But they never stop fighting. Thorm displayed images from human history, primitive humans fighting with rocks and wooden clubs, ancient humans with bronze swords and chariots, medieval humans with iron armor and siege weapons, modern humans with guns, tanks, and aircraft, space-age humans with energy weapons and warships. Most species, Thorm explained, abandon surface warfare when they reach space. They focus on space combat and forget how to fight on the ground. Humans did not do this. They maintained standing armies. They continued to practice ground combat. They kept developing new tactics and weapons for every type of warfare. Another analyst spoke up. We found records of something humans call war games. Even during peacetime, their militaries practice fighting. They simulate battles. They train constantly. They study old wars and learn from them. War is not just something humans do. It is something they study like a science. Thorm continued the presentation. Humans have a concept they call total war. When threatened, they do not just mobilize their military. They mobilize their entire civilization. Factories that made cars and computers start making tanks and weapons. Scientists stop studying nature and start studying ways to kill enemies. Even their entertainment industry creates propaganda to keep people motivated. The council members listened in uncomfortable silence. This was unlike anything they had encountered before. There is more, Thorm said. Humans have nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. They invented nuclear weapons and almost used them to end their own species. They created biological weapons that could kill millions. They developed chemical weapons that could poison entire cities. They know how terrible war can be because they have experienced it firsthand. And yet when threatened, they embrace war without hesitation. A council member asked, "But surely they fear death. Surely they want peace?" "They fear death," Thorm confirmed. "But they fear surrender more. In their history, they have a saying, 'Give me liberty or give me death.' They would rather die than submit to conquest." This is not just talk. We have evidence from the current war. Human ships with damaged life support do not retreat. Human soldiers surrounded by enemies do not surrender. They fight until they win or until they die. The council chamber was silent. Finally, someone requested that Elder Kethmar be summoned. The old Vorashin arrived slowly, taking his seat with difficulty. "You tried to warn us," the council leader said to Kethmar. "We did not listen. Please tell us what you know about fighting humans." Kethmar looked sad but not surprised. "I will tell you what I learned," he said. "But I warn you now. Knowing about humans and defeating them are two different things." He gathered his thoughts before continuing. Humans are persistence predators. On their homeworld, they evolved to chase prey across long distances. The prey would run until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then the humans would kill it. They bring this trait to warfare. "We chase prey too," someone objected. "Many species do this." "You chase prey until it escapes or until you grow tired," Kethmar replied. "Humans chase prey until it dies. There is a difference. When humans decide you are prey, they will follow you forever. They will track you across the galaxy. They will find your home. They will wait outside your door. And they will never forget that you were once their enemy." He looked at the assembled council members. "My people learned this. We thought we won when the humans retreated from our space. We thought the war was over. But the humans did not think the war was over. They thought we needed to learn a lesson. So they taught us that lesson. They showed us they could reach our homeworld. They showed us they could destroy us. Then they left us alive to remember our fear." "What kind of species does that?" someone asked. "A species that thinks about the future," Kethmar answered. "Humans did not destroy my people because they thought about what would happen after. They thought about other species seeing what happened to us. They thought about the fear that would spread. They wanted other species to know that attacking humans has consequences." A military commander spoke up. "But Commander Zalnoth reports that humans take heavy casualties. They lose many ships and soldiers. How is that different from any other war?" "Because humans accept those casualties," Kethmar said. "When you lose ships, you become cautious. When humans lose ships, they build more. When you lose soldiers, you question the war. When humans lose soldiers, they name military bases after them and keep fighting. Human casualties do not weaken their resolve. Casualties strengthen it," Thorm added to this. "We analyzed human cultural records during wartime. They do something remarkable. They remember their dead. They build monuments. They tell stories. They teach their children about those who died in war. The dead become inspiration for the living. Every human casualty creates more motivation to fight." "This is madness," someone said. "No," Kethmar corrected. "This is evolution. Humans evolved on a dangerous world. Everything on their planet tried to kill them. Predators, diseases, weather, even their food was sometimes poisonous. The humans who survived were the ones who refused to give up. The ones who kept fighting no matter what. Over millions of years, this trait became part of their nature." Another analyst presented new findings. "We discovered something interesting about human politics. They have many nations on their homeworld. These nations often compete with each other. Sometimes they fight wars against each other, but when an outside threat appears, they unify almost instantly." The analyst showed records from the attack on New Harvest. Before the Crovasian attack, Earth was politically divided. Nations argued about trade, borders, and resources. Then New Harvest was attacked. Within one day, every nation on Earth voted to send military support. Within 1 week, they had formed a unified command structure. Ancient rivalries were forgotten. They became one species with one goal. "How long will this unity last?" someone asked. "Until the threat is over," the analyst replied. "Human history shows this pattern repeatedly. They fight each other during peace. They fight together during war. The bigger the threat, the more united they become." Zalnoth himself appeared before the council via hologram. He looked tired. His purple armor was scorched. He reported on the war's progress, but his voice lacked its former confidence. "The humans are not fighting for territory. Zelnoth said. I offered them land. They refused. I offered them resources. They refused. I offered them technology. They refused. They will accept only one thing: my complete withdrawal from their sector, punishment for what they call war crimes, and a promise to never threaten them again. Those terms are too harsh, a council member protested. Those are their minimum terms, Zelnoth replied. Their Secretary General sent me a personal message. She said they are not fighting for territory or resources. They are fighting to ensure this never happens again. She said if I do not accept their terms, they will continue the war until they are standing in my throne room on my homeworld. The council chamber erupted in shocked conversation. A young species threatening an ancient empire? It should be impossible. But the evidence was clear. The humans meant what they said. Elder Kethmar spoke quietly. I told you. They fight until victory is achieved or until they are all dead. Commander Zelnoth has 3 choices. Accept their terms, continue the war until the Kravasian Empire falls, or kill every single human in the galaxy. I do not think the third option is possible. Humans are very hard to kill. They survive in places that would kill most other species. They adapt quickly. Even if you destroy their world, some will survive. And those survivors will remember. What should we do? The council leader asked. Stay out of it, Kethmar advised. This is Zelnoth's war. Let him finish it. If you intervene to help him, the humans will add you to their list of enemies. If you intervene to help the humans, you make an enemy of the Kravasians. The wise choice is to wait and watch. Learn from what happens, and never ever make the same mistake. The meeting ended without any decisions. The council agreed to stay neutral. But privately, many members began to wonder, if the Kravasian Empire could not defeat the humans, who could? And what would happen when humans decided they wanted more than just to be left alone? In space, the war continued. Human fleets moved deeper into Kravasian territory. They freed conquered worlds. They destroyed supply lines. And they kept sending the same message to the Kravasian homeworld. We know where you live. The human offensive began 3 months into the war. Against all military logic, humanity stopped defending and started attacking. The United Earth Fleet pushed into Kravasian space with determination that shocked galactic observers. Admiral Sarah Chen commanded the offensive from her flagship, the UESS Indomitable. She was 53 years old and had served in the military for 30 years. She had studied every war in human history. She had read about Alexander, Napoleon, Sun Tzu, and Patton. She understood that sometimes the best defense was a strong offense. We cannot let them think they are safe, she told her command staff. As long as they feel secure on their homeworld, they will keep attacking our colonies. We need to bring the war to them. The human fleet had a major problem. Kravasian ships were faster. Their faster-than-light drives were more advanced. Human ships took longer to travel between star systems, but humans found a solution. They captured Kravasian ships during battles and repaired them. Then they put human crews on those ships. The captured ships were strange to humans. The controls were designed for creatures with 4 arms and compound eyes. The computers used a different language. The life support systems produced air that smelled wrong to humans. But human engineers figured it out. They studied captured manuals. They experimented. They tried things until they worked. One human engineer, when asked how he managed to repair an alien engine, just shrugged and said, I hit it with a wrench until it started working. Same as any engine. This became known as percussive maintenance. The term spread through the human fleet. When something did not work, hit it. If it still did not work, hit it harder. Surprisingly, this worked more often than it should. The human offensive targeted Kravasian border worlds first, but these were not normal conquests. When human forces arrived at a Kravasian colony, they broadcast a message to the conquered species living there. The message was simple. We are not here to rule you. We are here to free you. You can join us in fighting the Kravasians. You can stay neutral, or you can fight us. Choose. Many conquered species chose to join the humans. They had lived under Kravasian rule for generations. They hated their conquerors. When humans offered them weapons and ships, they took them eagerly. A species called the Ven were the first to join. They were small, furry creatures who had been conquered 50 years ago. Their homeworld had been stripped of resources. Their people had been forced to work in Kravasian factories. When humans freed their colony, the Ven asked to join the war. Admiral Chen met with the Ven leaders. Why do you want to fight? She asked them. You could stay here and rebuild your world in peace." The Ven leader, whose name roughly translated to Speaking Stone, looked at her with large, dark eyes. "You do not understand," Speaking Stone said. "We have watched you fight. We have seen you refuse to surrender. We have seen you ram your ships into enemies when you run out of weapons. If humans fight like this for one colony, imagine what you will do for your homeworld. We want to be on your side when this war ends." "You think we will win?" Chen asked. "We think you will never stop fighting," Speaking Stone replied. "That is the same as winning." The Ven joined the fleet with their few remaining ships. Other species followed. The Tyrell, the Mish, the Covenant of Blue Stars. Each had their own reasons for hating the Crovasians. Each saw an opportunity for revenge. But they also saw something else in the humans. They saw what Elder Kethmar had seen. They saw a species that would never give up. The human fleet moved deeper into Crovasian space. They did not conquer worlds. They liberated them. They destroyed military bases but left civilian infrastructure intact. They took Crovasian prisoners and treated them according to something humans called the Geneva Convention. Many Crovasians were confused by this. Why were their captors feeding them? Why were they receiving medical care? One Crovasian officer, recovering in a human medical bay, asked his guard about this. "Why do you heal us? We are your enemies." The human guard, a young soldier named Marcus Webb, thought about the question. "Because that is what civilized people do," he finally said. "We are not fighting you because we hate you. We are fighting you because you attacked us. When you stop attacking, we will stop fighting. But we will not become monsters just to win a war." This attitude confused many aliens. War was supposed to be about total destruction of the enemy. But humans seemed to have rules about war. They had lines they would not cross. Even while fighting ferociously, they maintained some sense of honor. The Crovasian Empire began to fracture under pressure. Outer colonies saw the human fleet approaching and surrendered without fighting. Some Crovasian commanders abandoned their posts and fled. Trade networks collapsed as human forces cut supply lines. Supreme Commander Zalnoth watched his empire crumbling. He sent desperate messages to the Galactic Council. "Help us," he pleaded. "If the humans are not stopped, they will threaten all of you next. Today they fight me. Tomorrow they might fight you." The council met to discuss intervention. Elder Kethmar spoke strongly against it. "Commander Zalnoth started this war," Kethmar said. "He ignored our warnings. He attacked the humans believing they were weak. Now he asks us to save him from the consequences of his actions. Why should we?" "Because if we do not stop the humans now, they may become too powerful," someone argued. Kethmar shook his head. "The humans have shown remarkable restraint. They free conquered species. They treat prisoners well. They do not destroy civilian populations. They fight only military targets. This is not the behavior of a species that wants to conquer the galaxy. This is the behavior of a species that wants to be left alone." "But what if that changes?" another council member asked. "Then we deal with it when it happens," Kethmar replied. "For now, the humans are fighting a justified war. They were attacked first. They have the right to defend themselves. If we intervene against them, we make ourselves their enemies. I strongly advise against this." The council voted. They decided to remain neutral. No help would come for the Crovasians. Meanwhile, Captain James Morrison of the UESS Indomitable was fighting the most important battle of his life. His ship was defending a critical location called the Kalor Gate, a narrow passage between star systems. If the Crovasians controlled the gate, they could split the human fleet. If humans held it, they could advance deeper into enemy territory. Morrison's ship was badly damaged. An enemy missile had destroyed one of his engines. Life support was failing. Half his crew was dead or injured. He had no missiles left, only a few working laser cannons, and a Crovasian command carrier was approaching with a full escort. "Captain, we should retreat," his first officer said. "We cannot win this fight." Morrison looked at the tactical display. The main human fleet was 20 minutes away. If he retreated now, the Crovasians would take the gate and escape. If he stayed, his ship would be destroyed. "No retreat," Morrison said. "We hold until the fleet arrives." "Sir, that is impossible," the first officer protested. "Then we will do the impossible," Morrison replied. "It is what humans do best." The Indomitable fought alone against overwhelming odds. Morrison used every trick he knew. He flew through an asteroid field, forcing larger enemy ships to slow down. He used debris from destroyed ships as cover. He fired his remaining weapons at enemy sensors, blinding them temporarily. But it was not enough. The Crevasian command carrier broke through his defensive line. It was heading for the gate. Morrison made a decision. He aimed his crippled ship directly at the carrier and fired his engines at maximum power. "All crew to escape pods," he ordered. "Abandon ship." "That is an order. What about you, sir?" someone asked. "Someone has to fly this thing," Morrison said calmly. "Go now." The crew evacuated. Morrison strapped himself into the pilot's seat and flew directly at the command carrier. The Crevasians realized what he was doing too late. They tried to destroy the Indomitable with their weapons, but the ship was already too close. Morrison's ship crashed into the carrier's engine section. The impact was massive. Both ships were crippled. The carrier could not move. The Indomitable was a burning wreck, but the gate was blocked. The Crevasians could not escape. When the main human fleet arrived 20 minutes later, they found Morrison still alive in the wreckage. He had survived by sealing himself in the armored command center. He was rescued and taken to a medical ship. The story of Captain Morrison spread through the fleet and beyond. 3 different alien species awarded him medals for bravery. The humans promoted him to admiral. Songs were written about him. Children learned his name in schools. But when asked why he did it, Morrison just shrugged. "It needed to be done," he said, "and I was there to do it. That is all. This was the human way. Do what needs to be done. Do not surrender. Do not give up. Never stop fighting." As the war entered its final months, everyone in the galaxy understood one thing: the Crevasian Empire was doomed. The only question was how it would end, and whether Commander Zalnoth would survive to see the end. The war ended not with a great battle, but with silence. Supreme Commander Zalnoth stood in his command center on the Crevasian homeworld, watching reports flood in. Every border system had fallen. His fleets were scattered or destroyed. Half of his colonies had declared independence. The other half had surrendered to human forces. He looked at the tactical map one final time. Human ships were 3 days away from his homeworld. Just 3 days. 3,000 years of empire, and it would end in 3 days. Zalnoth walked to his private chambers. He composed a final message to his people. In it, he took full responsibility for the war. He admitted his arrogance. He confessed that he had ignored Elder Kethmar's warnings. He apologized to his species for leading them to ruin. Then Supreme Commander Zalnoth took his own life. In Crevasian culture, this was the honorable thing to do when you failed your people. His body was found by his aides the next morning. The Crevasian government, now led by civilians who had opposed the war, sent a message to the approaching human fleet. It was a simple message of surrender. They accepted all human terms without negotiation. Secretary General Maria Okonkwo received the surrender from Earth. She was a woman in her 60s, with gray hair and tired eyes. She had not slept properly in 6 months. She had spent every day coordinating the war effort, talking to military commanders and dealing with the political aftermath of human unity. When the surrender message arrived, she did not celebrate. She just felt tired. So many had died. Human casualties numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Alien casualties were much higher. Entire fleets had been destroyed. Colonies had been damaged. And for what? Because one arrogant commander thought humans were weak. "Send a response," Okonkwo told her staff. "Tell them we accept their surrender. Tell them we will arrive at their homeworld in 3 days to discuss terms. Tell them we come in peace, but we come armed, just in case." The human fleet arrived at the Crevasian homeworld exactly on schedule. Admiral Chen commanded the fleet personally. Hundreds of ships took up positions in orbit. But they did not fire. They just waited. Okonkwo traveled down to the surface in a diplomatic shuttle. She brought lawyers, military advisors, and representatives from the freed species that had joined the human cause. She met with the new Crevasian government in their capital building. The terms were harsh but fair. The Crevasian Empire would dismantle its military down to defensive forces only. A demilitarized zone would be established between Crevasian and human space. Reparations would be paid to rebuild damaged colonies. Most importantly, Crevasian leaders who had ordered attacks on civilian targets would face trial for war crimes. The Crevasians agreed to everything. They had no choice. But they also recognized that humans were being more merciful than they deserved. Humans could have destroyed the homeworld. They could have enslaved the entire species. But they did not. Why? The new Cravasian leader asked Okonkwo. Why do you not destroy us? We attacked you. We killed your people. By rights, you could take revenge. Okonkwo looked at the alien leader with her tired eyes. Because we are not conquerors, she said. We did not fight this war to gain territory. We fought it to ensure our security. Now that you have surrendered, you are no longer a threat. Destroying you would serve no purpose except to satisfy anger. And anger is not a good reason to end a species. But surely your people want revenge, the Cravasian leader asked. Some do, Okonkwo admitted. But most just want to go home. They want to rebuild. They want peace. Revenge does not bring back the dead. It does not heal the wounded. It just creates more death. We have had enough death. The treaty was signed. The war was officially over. The human fleet began to withdraw, leaving only a small force to monitor the demilitarized zone. The freed species began the long process of rebuilding their worlds. And humanity turned its attention to the Galactic Council. The Council had no choice but to offer humanity a seat. They could not ignore a species that had defeated a council member empire in 18 months. The debate in the council chamber was intense. Many members feared humans. They feared their military strength. They feared their refusal to accept defeat. They feared what humans might do with council authority. Elder Kethmar spoke one final time. He was very old now. The stress of the war had aged him. He could barely walk without assistance, but his mind was still sharp. You can give them a seat willingly, Kethmar said, or they will take it by force. I have watched humanity for 2 centuries. I have seen them go from primitive nuclear weapons to defeating a 3,000-year-old empire. They learn fast. They adapt quickly. They never forget an insult, but they also keep their word. He paused to catch his breath. Give them their seat. Include them in our decisions. Let them help shape galactic policy. Because the alternative is worse. The alternative is waking up one day to find human fleets demanding admission. And I promise you, when humans demand something, they get it. The council voted. This time it was unanimous. Humanity would receive a seat on the Galactic Council. They would have equal status with all other member species. They would have a voice in galactic affairs. Secretary General Okonkwo addressed the council on her first day. She stood before beings far older and more technologically advanced than humanity. But she stood with confidence. Earth had earned this place through blood and sacrifice. We did not want this war, Okonkwo said. We wanted to be left alone to grow, to explore, to develop in peace. But Commander Zalnoth taught us a valuable lesson. Isolation is not safety. We cannot hide in our corner of the galaxy and hope to be ignored. We must be part of the larger community. She looked at each council member in turn. We accept our seat on this council. We will follow the same rules we expect you to follow. We will participate in galactic commerce, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. We will be good neighbors. But understand this, her voice grew hard. If anyone threatens Earth or our colonies again, we will not stop at your borders. We will end your ability to wage war. Permanently, we are not conquerors, but we are survivors, and we are very, very good at surviving. The council chamber was silent. Every member understood the implicit threat. Humans would follow the rules, but only if everyone else did too. Break the rules, threaten humanity, and face consequences that would not stop at mere defeat. After the official meeting, the elders gathered privately. These were the oldest beings in the galaxy, representatives of species that had existed for millions of years. They discussed what humans called the human problem. We cannot defeat them militarily, one elder said. The Cravasians proved that. What do? We adapt, another suggested. We learn from them. Their military tactics are effective. Perhaps we should incorporate some of their strategies into our own defense forces. We could establish cultural exchange programs, a third elder proposed. Learn about them. Help them learn about us. Understanding breeds cooperation. Elder Kethmar, the oldest of them all, listened to the discussion. Finally he spoke. I have studied humans longer than any of you. I have watched them for 2 centuries, and I will tell you what I have learned. Everyone listened carefully. Kethmar's experience with humans was unique. Humans are capable of terrible violence, Kethmar said. We all saw this in the war. But they are also capable of great compassion. They create art of stunning beauty. They compose music that moves the soul. They write stories that explore the deepest questions of existence. They laugh, they cry, they love, He paused, gathering his thoughts. What makes humans dangerous is not that they are violent. Many species are violent. What makes them dangerous is that they understand violence. They know when to use it and when to avoid it. They know the difference between necessary force and cruelty. They practice both the sword and the olive branch. How do we coexist with such a species? Someone asked. We treat them with respect, Kethmar said simply. We honor our agreements with them. We do not threaten them. And we remember that they are not our enemies. They are simply another species trying to survive in a dangerous galaxy. Just like us, the meeting ended. The elders went their separate ways, each thinking about the new reality. Humanity had arrived. The galaxy would never be the same. On Earth, in a small city called Geneva, a memorial was built. It listed the names of all humans who died in the 6 months war. The list was long, too long, but humanity believed in remembering the dead. The memorial bore an inscription chosen by the families of the fallen. It read simply, "They came for one world." We showed them all of them mattered. Never again alone, never again unprepared. Above Earth, a new space station was under construction. It would serve as humanity's embassy to the galaxy. Ships from dozens of species already visited Earth, establishing trade routes and diplomatic relations. Humans were becoming part of the galactic community. Admiral Chen retired from military service. Captain Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, took command of Earth's defense forces. Secretary General Okonkwo continued her work, building bridges between humanity and other species. And in the demilitarized zone between human and Crevasian space, a joint patrol fleet was established. Human ships flew alongside Crevasian ships, monitoring the border together. It was awkward at first. Old enemies do not become friends overnight. But slowly, carefully, they learned to work together.